Hi, welcome. I titled this video that I've prepared for you, Math Frustration's Gone, because that's why you're here. I'm imagining is that you signed up because you have a student in middle school who's having some difficulty with math and it's causing an awful lot of frustrations at home. I know what that's all about, and I also know what to do about it. My name is Brian Vass, and what happened was that a little more than 10 years ago I had a son who was having difficulty with math. And for the past 10 plus years, I've been working on that problem. I helped him solve the problem. I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, I'm a math teacher, and I've been teaching math for over 30 years. I also have a master's degree in distance education and started my own company a little more than 10 years ago, teaching middle school kids online and solving that problem. So I'm going to share with you the 3 problems that I have found that have been causing math frustration at home for parents and for their, for students and for their parents and for the whole family. I'm also going to share with you the solutions to those problems, a little bit about those solutions to those problems. So, first thing is what are the problems? And what I found out with my own son and what I found out with the students that I've been working with over the years, that there are really 3 problems that occur inside of the classroom or inside of the study of mathematics in middle school. And the thing about the study of mathematics in middle school is that if the problem can be cured with a learning system, there's actually 3 different learning systems that I'm going to share with you. And these are 3 systems which, once they're applied, instead of having a frustrated kid or a frustrated family, it actually turns into a happy kid and a happy family. I'm going to share with you the 3 problems. So the 3 problems, first of all, are clarity with the content. So it's clarity with the content is the first problem. The second problem, and all these problems are connected. The second problem is confidence. So if you're not clear about what it is that you're supposed to do, it's like going to a job without a job description. Then your confidence is pretty low because you really don't know what to do. And then finally, of course, it's competence. Competence comes inside of writing a test. Now, all of these point to the same thing, and the thing that they point to is frustration. If you don't have clarity in the content, if you don't have confidence about what you're doing, and if you're not competent to write the test, then it's you feel very, very frustrated. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you about that, of course, like I said, I'm going to tell you about what kind of a system can actually be applied. There's 3 systems can be applied to solve those 3 problems. They're really simple solutions, but they are systems that they don't usually happen inside of the school system, and maybe as a parent, if you're homeschooling, you don't know how to do this as well. But I also want to share something else with you, and what it is that what happens is that you have this line, and with this line, if you're sitting over here at frustration, of course you want to move down the line, and you want to move anywhere down the line. You want to just get down the line and away from frustration, but where do you want to end up over here? And I think I mentioned it already, and I think you know what that is. I mean, what we want as parents is we want to have happy children. So you want to get to a place where your child is happy, which really means that they feel good. They feel good about what they're doing, they know what they're doing, and they feel good about going to school. So the clarity issue that I mentioned, so the clarity and the content issue really has the problem that is created there, the frustration problem that's created there is confusion. And confusion is when you're confused about something, when your kid goes to school and is confused, and they're confused about the content, which means that they don't know how to do fractions. They don't understand about integers. Algebra gets them mixed up. They don't understand the principles of algebra and so forth and so on. When that happens, then what happens is that they're very frustrated. Frustrated is the confusion is the result. Frustration is a result of confusion. So clarity is what the aim is. And once there's clarity, then all of a sudden there is, everything becomes easy. And that's the whole thing about being at the dinner table or being at home with your homework, is knowing what it is that you have to do. So there's a system for that. And so the first system that I'm going to talk about is actually the system of content management. Now, it may seem to you that that seems a little maybe too much for somebody that's in middle school, and I can guarantee you that that is not true. I just want to, for a minute, tell you about, like I said, my own story with my son. My son was a guest speaker at Toastmasters when he was 3.5 years old. So he is a high verbal reasoning student, and all the way through school, once he started school, he started having difficulty with math until he got into middle school, and all the way through middle school. His mother is a math teacher. I'm a math teacher. I switched from being more of a math teacher and concentrated on math to concentrated on learning when I realized that I had to do something about my son. It was causing a lot of frustration in our family. Now, what I want to do just for a minute is I just want to show you a quick video clip of my son. Now, my older son is in the video as well. I'm, of course, holding my son on my lap while he reads a story to a group of adults. He was a guest speaker at Toastmasters. He was a guest speaker at Toastmasters. So I'm going to show you a quick video clip, and then I'm going to come back to this system of content management, tell you a little bit about that, and then move on to the other two systems that actually can be applied in order to help your kids solve that frustration problem and help you also solve that frustration problem and create a competent, confident math student. So here's Brian David. He's 3.5, and he's speaking to a group of adults.
The real problems, what you personally what angry. It was hard after me, so it's going to rough. There's thinking up one with some pipes big up. You want to dig jug up, such a weight on bare mount sauce. One big thing when it came steaming over the very last company. Orange was here that made the girl jump all the way after came. What to drop that snapped off was through.
Snapped off a rusty old coupling bolt, and he shows the pictures to it. So that was Brian David. That was somebody who couldn't do math. So what happened was that, like I said, our family was very frustrated about it. Brian David had proven his abilities except in math. And so yeah, his mother was of course very disappointed. And by the way, we had Brian David in a public school. It didn't really work out for him, so we homeschooled him. It didn't really work out for him, so we put him in a private school. Private school didn't really work out, so we virtual schooled him. I mean, we did absolutely everything in order to solve that math problem. But nothing worked until finally we just had to find a way. And so the way that we found was to create this system of content management. Now, the system of content management has to do with really something that I started calling the course developer's perspective. And if once Brian David, because I had been to, I had a master's degree. My master's degree was in curriculum development. I like to develop curriculum. In my previous workplace, I'd been developing curriculum. So I just started showing Brian David the course from the from the course developer's perspective. And so that is what I do. When I teach math programs, I simplify the content. I simplify the content in order so that students can see the strands, know the strands, see the concept groups, which are really the chapters, see the concepts, the skills, the processes, and then the problems that are associated with it, break it down to an acceptable standard skills and standard of excellence skills. And once I do that, then students often say to me, is that all there is to it? And that is all there is to it. So, so a content management system where information is broken down. I will also show the students, talk to the students about the teacher's perspective, and I also talk to them about the perspective of the textbook. Now, when I'm working with them, in a coaching situation. But the program that I've developed is developed right around that content management system, which makes learning math really easy for middle school math students, and then helps them to take control of their math and how to look at math from a certain kind of perspective once they get into higher grades, into the high school and so forth. So the second system, the second problem that occurs that I found, and I found this with Brian David. Of course, Brian David had lots of abilities. And so what was the so the problem that I started to find as I worked with Brian David, and then as I continued to work online with my students, was that they had abilities that were not being accessed. So I started creating ways for them to access those abilities. Now, the content management system actually did that, but then I started seeing various kinds of principles that were involved. Now, those principles that were involved completely aligned with the brain mind learning principles. So really, the second idea there was actually to access a way to access those abilities, which is really a learning management system. And that learning management system then finds a way in order for your son or your daughter to get away from frustration, be a lot more happy about themselves when you see what they can do with other things that they can do, like what Brian David could do with his reading, what your son or daughter may be able to do with their video game, with their dancing, with the way they play baseball, the way they play a particular kind of a sport. There's a way to access their abilities in order so that they can do math. And that moves them away from being frustrated, which is the whole point of this, to being a happy person at school, a happy person at home. Because now what's happening is that they have confidence, and the confidence is in their abilities. They now realize that, yes, I can do math. It's not because my mother or my father could not do math that I can't do math. It's not because I do not have a math gene. It's not because I do not have math ability. So there's ways to access abilities in order to and create a learning management system that correlates to the brain-mind learning principles that helps kids learn math and stops that whole frustration deal. Okay. Now I just want to talk about three of those things, because what happens in the learning management system is that there are three climates that are accessed there. The first one is the emotional climate. Inside of the emotional climate, somebody actually has to believe that your kid actually has to believe themselves that they can do math. And that whole thing has to do with decreasing the threat of the learning and increasing the whole idea that they do have that ability. Now, there's other principles that are involved inside of that, which is just sharing the information, being encouraged about what it is that they're doing, and various kinds of things like that. But the emotional climate is an important part of the work of accessing abilities. The second part is called the instructional climate. I call it processing the information. Now, I saw a principle when I started working with Brian David, when I started working with other students. I called it the Dicon energy flow principle, because I saw that when students worked, I called it divergently and convergently. But when I changed the way that the information was presented in the content management system, and I started showing students how to look at the information in wholes and parts, then I saw that they learned a lot faster, a lot easier. It created a certain amount of energy because it's now using their abilities. So one of those things then is processing information in wholes and parts at the same time. Learning in patterns is another important principle inside of the learning system. Finally, there is a consolidation climate, which I call really the retention climate. The retention climate actually is where we now look more at the competence idea. It's the idea of retaining the information. How do you retain the information? You retain it by memory. And memory is not some kind of a bad thing. No, memory is the foundation of learning, and there's ways to use the memory, ways to use patterns to inside of the memory, and that all goes back into working with the content management system as well. So I do that. I show students how to work with those principles inside of the math program, and you can do that yourself. You can take the textbook and you can break it up, first of all, into those groupings that I mentioned to you about, and that will help your student right away. You can show them. You can actually have confidence in your child to do math. Show them you have confidence. I mean, I've run into situations where what happens is that a parent will come to me. I've had a couple different kinds of various kinds of situations. I've had situations where parents come to me and show me their child's report card and show me how good they are doing in everything and how poorly they're doing in math. And the only thing they can talk about is how poorly they're doing in math. And I've had to tell the parents, look, I mean, you got to take a little bit more. You have to take a closer look at how well your child is doing with everything else. And I can guarantee you that because your child is doing so well with all these other things, they can do well in math too. So there's a way to take abilities abilities that students have in other subjects and apply them to mathematics. Now, that is something that is really quite easy to do, and I do that inside of the math program that I've actually created. But like I said, you can do it yourself. Okay. The third thing, which I think is probably going to be easier for you to do, is is a problem that happens with kids. And what it is, of course, is the whole competence idea. Of course, as soon as all of these things are related. If you are not competent, then you do feel very frustrated. You know, you can't write. You might say, I can go to some kids will say, I can go to the while sitting in the classroom, I understand it. Then I come home, I forget it. I don't get it. I can't retain it. I'm not competent at it. Yeah, well, there are definitely things that you can do about that. And competence, of course, can cause a lot of frustration. Of course, don't want that. Want happy students. Want students that are comfortable with themselves and with the materials and can get a good mark on the test. So the third system really has to do with taking control of what you're doing. And so what that system is, that system of taking control in order to create competence, because that's the other thing is that if you're out of control, you are frustrated. So how do you take control? That's the question. And the third system is a self-assessment system. So there's a self-assessment system that now teaches students how to monitor their own progress, how to ask themselves the question, do I understand what it is that I'm supposed to do? Do I understand how to do it? Do I know how to retain it? And once those few questions are asked and those few questions are maintained in a cycle, then what's happening is that students all of a sudden are competent students. So in conclusion, here's what happens, is that confusion changes to clarity. And once confusion changes to clarity, then of course the frustration starts to go away. A lack of confidence changes to confidence, and that lack of confidence has to do with accessing abilities. All of a sudden, if a person thinks, I am no good at math, they're very, very frustrated. It has to do with those abilities. I can't do math. I'm no good at math. As soon as they realize, hey, I can do this, then their confidence goes up. That's what you want the confidence to increase. And then finally, if what's happening is that if your son or your daughter is getting low grades, then of course it's upsetting to you. It's very upsetting to them. And the goal there is competence. The goal is a competent math student. But all of these things are interrelated. You can't take clarity away from confidence, confidence away from competence, clarity away from competence. Those three things are really one thing. It's really one system. It's really a learning system. So there's three learning systems inside of one learning system, which is the system of actually getting to the place where you now realize that you are a good math student and you feel good. So the whole idea is feeling good. I hope that what happened was that as you listen to this video, I gave you some ideas about how to help your middle school math student to be better at math, to feel less frustrated, and to have less frustration at home. If there's anything that I can do, I'd like to help. I have created a program. There's a program link that you can get where you can go and buy the program, where actually I go through all of these systems and teach middle school math for grade 7 and grade 8 if your son or daughter's in grade 9, grade 7, or grade 8. If what happens is you got a different kind of a problem, a grade 6 problem, or even a grade 9 problem, because I go through middle school solutions for grade 6, 7, 8, and 9, then you can contact me. I have other kinds of possibilities of helping. But I hope that this was helpful for you, and good luck with your middle school math student and with your frustrations at home. Hopefully they're turning from frustrations into a happy time. And I just want to say that one morning I woke up, and I've been working with these systems for a long time. And one morning I woke up, and I've also been working with technology for a long time because, like I said, I have a master's degree in technology. But one morning I woke up and I realized that technology also plays a part in learning. And so in the video courses that I've created, I also include a link to virtual exercises. So if there's anything else I can do to help you, I'd be happy to. Buy my program. Hope you have success with your middle school math student.